everyone. Good afternoon and welcome to Katalyst Labs' first in-person event. I'm Aisha Siddiqui, I run the marketing at Katalyst Labs and I will be your host for today. So today, as we join here to honor our women and to celebrate all of you, we basically wanted to really take a deep dive and understand what it really meant when people said to create equal opportunities for women in the workforce. So for this, we gathered an illustrious panel of corporates where they are already taking up initiatives and programs so that the female workforce can stay longer, and our rising startups who have really changed the game and they're disrupting their industries, but we are also looking at women who are taking non-conventional roles and leadership positions in the ecosystem. So without much delay, I will now introduce you to the panel. Well, please welcome as I invite everyone onto the stage. So our first would be our founder and CEO of Katalyst Labs, Johanna Ara. Mr. Umber T, Chairman and CEO of Unilever Pakistan. Ms. Umber T. Ansari, Head of Marketing and Corporate Communications, Engroport. Ms. Humaira Ahmed, Country Head of Human Resources in Jenta. Mr. Raza Abdul, Co-founder, Traffic Aid. And Ms. Azima Tanji, Co-founder and CEO of Connect Here.
Thank you very much, Aisha. Why don't you give the other one? Thanks very much, Aisha. It's great to be here, and first of all, thank you to Umber T and the Unilever team for letting us host this first physical event for Katalyst Labs at such a beautiful location. Isn't it nice? Come on, round of applause. I'm sorry to be starting a little late, but I think people have taken some time to get here. I think nobody is used to physical events anymore, so time is normally spent on Zoom. But it's great to be here, and I would like to welcome some of the women fellows who are part of our program, some who've been part of our first cohort, and some who are joining us now. I'm sure there will be other people who will join us later. But in the meantime, let's start the conversation. And we want this to be an engaging session. So I'll start off with a round of questions with the panel, and then we'll open it up and see if you have anything that you want to know from this awesome panel that I have here today. So I'll try and talk less and let them talk more. So, Amir, we will start with you, even though you said women first, but ladies first is not how we plan to do this. The difficult part has to be covered by you first. So, Unilever and Syngenta and Engro, all large organizations who've actually been working in this space to make sure that that your organizations are diverse, that you create opportunities for more women to be part not only of the company but also part of leadership. So can you tell us a little bit about that journey and the things that the steps that you have taken to make sure that women want to join your company and want to be a part of growing the inclusive space that you've started?
So, thank you, Nara. So, I think Unilever is lucky from that perspective that since I joined the organization, it's always been very pro-culture to women. The reason I say that the first woman who was the CEO of Unilever, this was 20 years back, was Musharraf.
Yes.
And this shows that this organization believed at a time when practically women were very few in the workforce. And then my predecessor, Shahia Sayyed, was also a woman. who ran this company. So, I'm lucky to be working in an organization who always believed in women and always believed that women can actually can do as good a job as man can do. I think what is important is you need to create the right culture in the organization, the right policies, the right frameworks, and you need to basically really understand that women can also bring a very different, diverse set of ideas. And I think so we somehow really divorce the workspace from our personal homes. Yeah. My mother raised me, and I have a sister, and we coexisted. We went to school, we went to universities, and we had women in our class. मुझे नहीं पता हमें क्या हो जाता है कि जब हम काम पे आते हैं तो हम कहते हैं यार we don't women in our workspace where we have grown with women. I'm raised by a woman, and I think so that's what we start to realize that why we need to start accepting women in the workplace, and we need to have the right value system. This year we had a Women's Day, and Unilever Globally has come up with a very interesting tagline. The tagline is equality is not equal, #equity is. और उसका मतलब बड़ा आसान है. उसका मतलब ये है कि इक्वालिटी का मतलब है अभी तक हम इक्वालिटी के ऊपर काम कर रहे हैं कि हम सब बराबर हैं, मर्द और औरत बराबर हैं, पॉलिसीज एक जैसी होनी चाहिए, फ्रेमवर्क्स एक जैसे होने चाहिए. मगर ये ऐसा ही है कि आपने तमाम लोगों को जो है एक ही साइज का जूता दे दिया. अब वो जूता सबको दे दिया, एक जैसा दे दिया, एक ही ब्रांड दे दिया, पर एक ही साइज का दे दिया. अब वो किसी के ऊपर बड़ा है, किसी के ऊपर छोटा है, किसी का पैर काट रहा है, किसी का नहीं काट रहा. इक्विटी का मतलब है कि आपने इक्वालिटी का मतलब सबको जूता देना है. इक्विटी का मतलब है आपने उसके कॉन्टेक्स्ट को मद्देनजर रख के आपने पॉलिसी बनानी है. वन साइज डज नॉट फिट ऑल. एंड आई थिंक सो जो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के अंदर चैलेंज हो रहा है वो अभी तक ये अंडरस्टैंडिंग नहीं आ रही है कि आपके जो फ्रेमवर्क्स हैं, पॉलिसीज हैं, उसको आपने कस्टमाइज करना है गिवन द कॉन्टेक्स्ट ऑफ द इंडिविजुअल. Both for men and more so for women. If a woman is single, of course the policy has to be different. If she is married, it's different. If she has a kid, that's different. And if she lives with in-laws, that's different. We need to basically customize our overall framework to really basically bring more and more women in the workplace. And I think that's what we need to start embracing.
Thank you very much, Amir. That has put it all into context. So, Umber, if we look at it from the perspective of Engro, which has a very diverse sort of structure. It's not just in the office, but you have plants where women work, there are manufacturing sites. So how has Engro gone about making sure, what Amir said, that it is diverse and it looks at women or at all people working in the organization with a different lens? Because even men, those who are married, those who are single, those who are responsible for small children, will also need some of those policies to be applicable to them. So, आपका क्या ख्याल है? What is Engro doing? What do you plan to do, and what do you think other organizations should be doing as an example?
Sure. So, speaking on behalf of Engro, I would say the challenges are exactly as you laid out. We are a very technical organization. Every single company that we have is in B2B primarily. So you don't have somebody going out in marketing or making sure that the product is sold properly or fitting is. It's very different. We have a tremendous amount of technical skill that's required, and we though have no doubt that the women can meet the men and in fact exceed the men in those technical levels of skill, but they're not given the opportunity at the base level. So what we try to do is we try to open up opportunities with programs like we have one called Uran. Under Uran, we actually go around the Port Qasim area and we go and speak to women in the area who are educated or seeking an education, who want to have technical skills. We teach them. We also work with Circle. We do tech federal also, and through that we have about, I think, 65% of the people who are part of the program are women. So we're trying to teach them technical skills there as well. So for us, our need is also different, right? The women that we want, the women that we need, are the ones who are going to be skilled in everything. So you should have the soft skills, which is what women are generally kind of pushed towards, which is I think where equality and equity also come in. We're getting women in the workforce, but are we getting them everywhere, or are we just getting them where we think they fit? And I think till now, that's kind of been one of the challenges that women face. For our company, we don't have that luxury. The roles that we need them to fill are very technical. So we've been executing programs like these amongst others as well. And for the men, of course, we do try to provide solutions also as parents so that they also have peace of mind for men and women alike, of course, with the daycare services that we provide in all of our facilities and these kinds of situations.
Thank you. Okay, over to Humaira.
Thank you.
So, Humaira, from a Syngenta perspective, other than what Amir and Umber have already stated, is there anything else that you're doing differently as an organization that all of us can learn from?
So I think Syngenta is a agriculture, agri-tech company. We have products, we have crop protection and seeds products. So our end user is actually the farmer.
Okay.
We work with the rural citizens, masses of this country, right? Therefore, I think one of the challenges that we have is actually bringing in women in commercial, in the Leia, Bihari, and so on and so forth. And we're doing wonderful things for that. What we're doing is we're coming up with farmer programs for women who are working in the fields. We're offering internships to farmers' children, female children. We are also identifying accelerated development plans for women that are already here. We also have offerings such as the Long-Up program, the internship programs that are coming up because we do feel that a lot of skills are sitting at this point available in women, and they are looking for opportunities, and they're not getting those opportunities to come back to work, maybe part-time. These are programs that we're coming up with. I mean, if I can tell you a personal story, I myself took time off from corporate sector. And then I came back, wanting to come back to full-time employment. I remember HR heads coming up to me and saying, and these are HR heads of progressive organizations who said, listen, you meet criteria, you're good for the role, but I'm not sure if we can take a risk on you returning back to work. Because they felt that just because I have not done full-time work for a while, it will be a risk to take someone on that back. Globally, a lot of initiatives taking place in terms of employee resource groups, community programs for our women to support each other and development initiatives. Something else that I think we're working towards in our equality versus equity. And I think ultimate or real equality is the goal for all of us. But we have to have individual practices for that. So what are we doing? We're looking at things like job descriptions to see, what is the verbiage written on those job descriptions? The number of years of experience required, do we need the skills or do we need the number of years of experience? Everybody might not have that. We're also, I think the phrase is brilliant.
Exactly. That's a word that often.
Yes, that's absolutely. So, making talent development opportunities available to employees everywhere, not just men, not just women, but men as well. So that customized learning can take place, customized career opportunities can be available. And last but not least, I think we all need policies to support women, but we also need to be just flexible. So I think line managers should understand that at times, you need to put some policies aside and come up with customized solutions. So that's what we do. Thank you.
So, Raja, you're in an area that's very different from the rest of the group here. So, Shakti has empowered women coming into an industry that is predominantly always been associated with men. So, how has that journey been and what has your experience been like? I think it would be interesting for all of us to hear how that has happened and, is it working?
So thank you for having me and sharing our experiences. If you look at it, the whole journey is very interesting. As you rightly mentioned out, and even if you look at it across the industry, right, there's a reason why the phrase was pointed to man's word, right? But it's changing and evolving. The way we look at our vision, we came in to challenge the status quo. So we are not so change, right? We need to change the way things are being done today. But the way we are changing it is not just within our industry where we want to improve the lives of shippers, make it easier for them, make it more economical for them, while at the same time uplifting the lives of the truckers, but it's also how we go about doing it, right? So within our operation from the get-go, we've always been very focused that if we don't get this right, it'll be easier probably for us to change the external status quo. But if we internalize everything that was in the past, the long-term sustainability of the organization might be challenged, right? Because we're talking about bringing in fresh ideas, fresh perspectives. So Alhamdulillah, we've been very successful in bringing in women. It is a challenge, honestly speaking, but as we're a startup and there's a lot of hype around that today, that really helps us increase our recruitment efforts by expanding the funnel at the top, which is really helping us get the right talent. And we're, again, so even within the inclusivity aspect, it is very simple to, or traditional, for example, to look at and say, for example, we're going to have women, let's say, in the people function. But we didn't start like that. Funnily enough, our first women that came in were part of the STEM program. So our first engineer, funnily enough, was a girl. She unfortunately had to leave because she got a better opportunity to pursue PhD from EU. But that's how our division got. Half of our market-based team, the data analytics side, is women. Our operations side, again, 15% of that is women, and we're talking about women being set up near KPT, near Port Qasim. Again, it's on us as everybody I think over here is recognizing that we need to create policies and a culture for that to thrive. And I think one thing that's really helped out has been, in a roundabout way, COVID, right? Pre-COVID, everything you had to be on-site to be considered productive. Now you have Zoom, you've got Google Meet, you've got the collaborative tools, and you've basically been able to change the way you work, right? So as you were mentioning, equity, if you're not able, what are we concerned with, right, is you get the job done. If you do it 9 to 5, great, you're able to, but if you need 2 hours from there to go take care of anything, whether you're a man or a woman, doesn't matter, but you need that time out, take the time out. But then come back, recharge and finish the job. So I think that in that perspective, COVID has really retooled the way we look at these things as well. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey in terms of the success. And I think it would be weird for me to talk about it. I'd rather our partners, our colleagues, they talk about it. But it's been good, alhamdulillah. We're pretty satisfied with our work.
Very good, Jay. Yes, okay. Azima, last but not least, over to you. You started your journey as an entrepreneur at the age of 19. Young entrepreneur, woman entrepreneur, working in an area which was not something that people were looking at much. But things have progressed. So how important, now that you've engaged with various stakeholders, how important do you think it is for organizations to create a culture where differently able people are included? And what are the challenges that you see that they have to face that they need to address if that's going to happen?
Thank you so much for having me here. So I don't know how, like, it's easier to connect with Unilever Engro, but I don't know how many people over here know Connect here. But we work for persons with disabilities. We are working to make spaces accessible for all kinds of limitations. And you're very right, like when we started, it was an untouched, untapped topic. I came into it because of my parents, but other than that, it was very minimum to see it in the industry around. And I think, more than it being important, it is needed. It is needed in today's time that we focus on making our spaces accessible for persons with disabilities, because in Pakistan, estimatedly like 15% of our population has some level of limitation or disability. So that means there's 15% that's missing out on having better quality of life, not because they're not talented, but because we are not ready to welcome them into our spaces. So that's why it's needed that we think about, if you're announcing a job opportunity, or if you're announcing an event, or if you're making a change, if you're starting something new, we need to make sure that that initiative is also focusing or welcoming persons with disabilities. Like today is a beautiful example. When I told my mama that, I've been invited to come to Unilever at Katalyst Labs to talk, and she's like, I want to come. And so we have to make sure that we have an interpreter over here today so that my mama could sit in the audience and enjoy the entire event, right? So that's the whole point. How can we continuously think about, if you're doing something, how can we make that accessible? Who can we partner up with? Because of course, the number one challenge comes that
we're not taught from our school level, or our education doesn't teach us to notice person with disability or know how to communicate with them, how to interact with them, how to talk to them in sign language. So if it doesn't come from school, a lot of us aren't aware about it. So it's not that
we're awkward.
And we're awkward, we don't want to offend anyone, and it's not about, I've noticed this, it's not about people aren't welcoming, they just don't know. So to fill out that answer, it's best to partner up with organizations who are working for this cause, seeing how can we make more spaces accessible in the best way and make it sustainable. So that's another thing that we really focus on. The number one challenge with doing something that creates a lot of buzz is that you do it, it looks good on media, and that's it. So how do we continue it? How do we make sure that if we are claiming to make a space accessible, it's ongoing? And then of course, how can we use technology to solve that issue? So another challenge that companies always used to face is that, yeah, we will hire them, but how do we communicate with them, or how do they use computers? So now there is technology answering and solving a lot of these issues. So that's another way to think about, if you're aiming to do it, partner up with organizations and make it happen. You will have to take that first step to welcome this 15% of talented individuals whose no one's tapping in right now. So best time for that.
Thank you, everyone. So Amit, coming back to you. There you go, you've got some talent. Coming back to you. So we are, as a country, talking about digital Pakistan and our journey to making this a more inclusive and digital space, creating more opportunities. How do you think we can use digital to make our companies, our organizations more inclusive?
You're asking the wrong person. Huh? you know these answers better. The guy from Tracketed and the girl from
Correct here.
Yeah, correct here. In that family, I think so. I would say this digital is a great equalizer. And this is the best thing that could happen to this world, because it has given access to everyone. And particularly in our kind of a country where there are cultural barriers, where there are social barriers, where there are religious barriers, we need to basically bring the women to the workforce. मैं थोड़ा कुछ डेटा जो यहाँ पर आता है वो मैं उससे डिसएग्री करता हूँ. हमारा परसों एक सेशन था और सर्कल वाली भी आई थी, हमारा क्रॉस इंडस्ट्री सेशन था. उन्होंने कहा कि पाकिस्तान का डेटा कहता है कि 153 कंट्रीज में से पाकिस्तान इज 151 when it comes to women. I totally disagree with this data because I think so we need to redefine women in the workplace. मैंने कहा पंजाब चले जाएं, जितनी फील्ड्स के अंदर वो सारी ख्वातीन काम कर रही है. तो ये बिल्कुल झूठ है. ये जो पाकिस्तान का जो डेटा ग्लोबली प्रेजेंट किया जा रहा है एब्सोल्युटली रॉन्ग है, because there's a big part of undocumented economy जहाँ पे ख़वातीन पाकिस्तान में बहुत असर दराज से काम कर रही हैं.
So how do we pay for it?
Well, I think so that we can debate this. कि वो financially independent है कि नहीं है. We can debate. That's a different subject. But are women basically working or not? Yes, they are working. बल्कि वहाँ पे तो जो मर्द है वो बैठे होते हैं चारपाई के ऊपर, वो सारा दिन काम नहीं करते. आप सिंध में चले जाएं, सुबह चाय पीना शुरू होते हैं तो जिस चारपाई पर शाम तक उसी चारपाई के ऊपर बैठा होता है. औरत काम कर रही होती है. आज हमारे I think so this is what we need to correct one perception. And other thing is जो digitalization का फायदा ये हुआ है, काफी घरों में आज भी है कि यार औरत को घर से बाहर नहीं निकलना. मतलब जो डिजिटल है उसने ये चीज अच्छा कर दी है कि आज उसका जो भी टैलेंट है, अगर वो अच्छा खाना पकाना जानती है, वो अच्छी बेकर है, या अच्छा वो केक बना सकती है, या वो अच्छी कढ़ाई कर सकती है, वो जो कुछ भी कर सकती है, वो आज फेसबुक के थ्रू अपनी मार्केटिंग कर सकती है, आज बाइक के थ्रू डिलीवरी करा सकती है, आज इंस्टाग्राम के थ्रू कर सकती है. तो मेरे ख्याल में this digital has actually given access to everyone, whether you are from a conservative background where they don't want their women to be out, but now she is financially independent. Number two, more than important, the financial independence, उसकी self worth. हर कोई अपनी पहचान मांगता है. काफी ख़वातीन के लिए शायद पैसे इम्पोर्टेंट नहीं है, उसकी अपनी पहचान बहुत जरूरी है. या मेरी भी तो अपनी पहचान है, यानी कि ठीक है मुझे पैसों की कमी नहीं है, मेरा बाप या मेरा भाई या मेरा हस्बैंड मुझे पैसे ला के दे देता है, उसकी सेल्फ वर्थ क्या है, मेरी अपनी क्या आइडेंटिटी है. and I think so this is more important. So मेरे ख्याल में हमें इस conversation को canvas को बढ़ाने की जरूरत है. हम इस conversation को number 1 ख़वातीन काम करती है नहीं करती है. Number 2 financially independent है नहीं independent है. हाँ ये subject है और हमें financial independence करने की जरूरत है. मेरे ख्याल में state banks उस पर बहुत अच्छा काम कर रहा है. Number 3 उसकी self worth क्या है यार? नंबर 4 वो अपना टैलेंट करना चाहते हो. टैलेंट जरूरी नहीं है कि वो किसी अच्छे बिजनेस स्कूल से पढ़ी हुई हो. टैलेंट जरूरी नहीं है कि उसने कोई बेसिकली कोडिंग सीखी हुई हो. टैलेंट चाहिए तो कोई भी टैलेंट है जिसको वो प्रैक्टिकली अपनी पहचान बना सकती है. सो मेरे ख्याल में डिजिटल दिस टेक इज रियली अ ग्रेट एक्विलाइजर. It's getting access to every person from any income class, from any strata, from any socio-economic background, from and any gender and any diverse group of person, whether able or differently.
Very well said, Amir. And a number of the ladies here today are exactly that. They are working. Some of them are working from home. Some of them are working from offices. Some of them have their own businesses and have grown them. I think it's just amazing what they've been able to do, and the self-worth is evident because of that. So very rightly said. Umber, so when we look at when we talk to women, and especially through our Women's Leadership Fellows program that we've been doing, one of the things that we notice is that the women have a lack of confidence in themselves, and that is one of the reasons that they don't go up the ladder in terms of leadership. What can we do to show them that, you know, that they are worth something, that they can go after whatever it is that they set their minds to? That lack of confidence is so evident across a class of women who actually have been there, done that, been successful, and yet they doubt themselves. What do you think we can do to change that? Because that worries me.
It is worrisome. And it's actually a very loaded question that you've asked, and there's a very simple answer to the sensitivity trainings kara dein and teach people to just be better human beings, but it's really not that simple. This generally goes back to upbringing, I think, in a lot of ways, right? So whether it's our society or global society, in this sense, I would say Pakistan is not so far behind the rest of the world. This is an unfortunate tragedy across the globe. बचपन से आपको सिखाया जाता है that if you're a woman, get your education. Even the most progressive families, they'll say get your education. You should be financially independent. You should do this. You should do that. But at the same time, that there are 10 other pressures on you that aren't on, say, the brother that you grew up with, right? So maybe until a certain age, you're given similar opportunities, but then साथ के साथ you're also told कि लेकिन बेटा ऑफिस के बाद जब घर आओ तो खाना भी लगा लेना, मेज भी लगा लेना, all that kind of stuff. Whereas you might have a sibling who comes home and he just comes back from work and is talking about how exhausted, goes and turns on Netflix and is just chilling, right? And the responsibility, the onus is on you. And I've had these conversations ad nauseum across the women at Angro as well. And you have people from all social strata present there. And this is kind of a resounding experience that women generally have. बचपन से एक चीज जब आपको सिखाई जाएगी, तो when you're growing up, you're automatically going to kind of fit yourself into a peg that you probably don't want to be in, but you just don't know how to get out of. And we're not just talking about the women here. What are the men being raised to believe then also, right? So when you enter a boardroom, if men by and large have in their entire lives been given priority to be heard in your household, in their households, then when they enter a boardroom, they're going to expect that same kind of priority, and they won't give the women the priority that they should have either. I know that this is something that a lot of people, their heart's in the right place, they're trying to change, people like Amir, people like Ayaz, and they're trying to get these things changed. But it's not that easy, because
it's getting women in leadership roles is always a good idea, but I think some of it does come from some women. So I feel just having people who support women really just helps. So at an organizational level, develop and grow leaders who are, who treat everyone equally and desensitize gender. So, everyone is equally rather than a man or a woman. So having sponsors at the organization level, having policies that even if there are women who are not speaking up for their raises or their promotions or that job which they're nearly good enough for but not perfect for. And we've noticed it. Men would raise their hand at jobs that they're 50%, they match the criteria for the 50%, and they would raise their hands. But women would turn around and say, "मुझे एक आखिरी चीज़ थी वो मैंने नहीं की, इसीलिए मैंने apply नहीं किया." So I think we need sponsors. We need people who would encourage women at leadership roles. We need employee resource group programs like Lean, where women can support each other, right? And from an individual level, as from our family's perspective, we need to groom them correctly, right from the beginning. Treat our sons and daughters the same way. So it starts from home, but there are responsibilities that we have as colleagues. There are responsibilities that we have as leaders, for sure. Yeah.
Can I also?
Yeah.
Sorry, it's a very interesting question. So I think my perspective comes from like being a teenager wanting to get that woman leadership position. So I think when I started my journey, I was really looking for someone in that position who could not only inspire me but also mentor me and guide me. So I think that is also very important that us as women leaders, if we welcome young girls who are approaching us, have a conversation with them, or maybe try to guide them if our interests match, or at least guide them to talk to another leader who could inspire. So yes, a bit of hand-holding would help teen and girls, but the kind of impact it could create, and then if we handhold some teen girls who could become leaders, then they handhold the other girls, then they handhold the other girls, and then you'll see like 14, 15 years old making big impacts and making big changes. So I think mentorship and guidance and handholding is also very important.
Absolutely. Okay. I think there are multiple things that all of you have said that each of us can do in our positions, and as well as create many more role models lower down the chain as well, because you need them at every level of organizations and in society. And definitely the things that we do at home, the way we bring up our kids, the way we interact with young women who come to us, it's all very important. So Raza, back to you. Is there anything you would like to add to what these people have said, or should we go for another question?
I think what needs to be said has been said, and I think again, as we pointed out, there's a lot of change that needs to happen from the household, and then it's a society change that we're looking for, right? And everything else that we're doing is more competitive, and it might have some repercussions that might harm the movement value. So there needs to be a holistic approach, and it needs to be done from the grassroots level. But I do see some of those things happening today, right? In our generation, at least we're seeing those things happen. So I think the future is very bright.
So what are the particular challenges that those startups and people in that sector, what are the challenges that women are facing? You've got them within your organization, but there must be specific challenges that they're having to cope with. And what you as an organization, what are you doing to sort of make sure that they can get past that and move on?
I think the first challenge, I think that regardless of gender, working with a startup is the insane pressure that's put on the team, on the leadership, everybody. Because again, the challenge itself is pretty immense, and I just took it down, right? Over there, what we're trying to do is basically help people get pressure management training, stress management training, those sort of things, but also understanding that there comes a point, and I think this is something that we've also grown and learned as leaders. There comes a point after which you need to de-escalate the stress ASAP, because it's not beneficial to culture, to people, to productivity. So it's better to de-escalate then and have those opportunities within the workspace, create that environment basically for people to be able to bond and de-stress. In terms of the gender specific, the challenges our women colleagues are facing, I think because again, we're relatively much smaller company than our peers over here. We're numbering in hundreds, they're numbering in thousands. So the challenges they face, again, the scale is different. For us, I think there are few colleagues who joined us after taking a career sabbatical. They've got kids. So again, the digital tools that we have is enabling them. We know for a fact that they're not sleeping within certain hours. We let them take care of their children, the responsibilities at home. So just being more human, being empathetic, and formalizing that within our policies, I think is important. And alhamdulillah, we've been able to retain them so far. So I think we are doing something to address those challenges, but it's not something that can be done overnight.
So Ravaka, and this is not one of the questions that I thought I would ask, but so what makes you this way? Why are you doing this? Because many men in, whether they are startup CEOs or heads of organizations, have not thought of these problems or empathize with women in the society so that they can have an equitable place in organizations. What makes you different? Why have you?
Different, I guess. No, seriously, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, right? It begins at home. My mother is a working doctor, right? My siblings, I've got two sisters, they work. Their challenges, you start emphasizing and you want to solve them as well, right? So this is our effort to make life simpler, I guess. The green motto, right? Make life simpler.
So, Azima, the real question. Sorry, interrupted the question I asked before, but the real question. As a leader working in the inclusivity space, what are some of the steps that you have taken to ensure that? So, as a person who is working in the inclusivity space, what are some of the actions that you have taken to make sure that your organization and others are more inclusive?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a very important question. So of course, like the company is being led by myself and Arham. So we bring like both the gender perspective. But from the very beginning, we had that mindset that it's not only about picking and choosing किन किन बातों पर inclusive होना है. अगर inclusive होना है तो हर चीज पर inclusive होना है, right? So, of course, disability was our focus, but then, finding people with disability, differently able people who are men, who are male, who probably had better opportunities in life and giving them the opportunity to get our startup work done fastly as well, that was never the mindset. From the very beginning, we started approaching leaders in the community that were from the both genders, who always taught us कि ये issues हैं, ये आपने जब हम market research कर रहे थे. So we took perspective from both the genders and we understood the case studies where our technology could be used based on both the genders. We went to spaces, so we not only work in Karachi, but we were working, पूरे पाकिस्तान में. तो हम जगहों पे जाके जब events रखवाते हैं, तो we specifically say कि, we don't only want के सारे मर्द ही आ जाएं, we want कि आप लोग औरतों के लिए schools vans arrange करें, transportation arrange करें, but bring them as well. We support deaf women leaders, so we support their initiative and we think that's very, very important. So there's a cricket tournament that's happening just this weekend with all deaf women in Karachi. And there are 40 people participating. So we are one of the sponsors of that event because we understand that bringing them and making them play a sport that's always thought is male-dominated is also something questionable. And the workforce, the volunteers, the interpreters, they are from both the genders to show that it's not only women for women, but it's gender for gender based on skills and opportunity, which we really, really support. And when we talk about our task force, the people who made Connecture happen. I was just discussing with Amir and he was like, who are these people who become sign language interpreters who are dedicating themselves to this very unknown, untapped field? You'd be shocked, 90% of our work staff is women. These are girls, female, who are learning sign language, who are becoming interpreters, who are passionate to work for the deaf community. Maybe, औरतों के लिए ज़्यादा वो emotion or passion होता है to work for something that's untapped. I'm sure it's probably that. But it's great to see the workforce that is supporting the deaf community, creating impact is 90% women. So all in all, Connecture not only embodies inclusion for a person with disability, but also women with disabilities and women who are interpreters and making the difference.
Amir, so the policies that Unilever has had, and you yourself pointed out that you've been lucky that from the get-go there have been the CEOs of the organization who have led from the top. How have those policies impacted the kind of people who join the organization, how has it affected retention of women and men whom you wanted to retain, and also how has the engagement been between both genders within the workspace? Maybe that's something to be learned from that by the
So, I think it's easy to make policies.
Yes, but practical and executable policy.
अगर ये पॉलिसी बनाना तो बहुत आसान है। आप जाके गूगल करें और पॉलिसी उठा लें वहाँ से और बोले ये मेरी पॉलिसी और आप दीवार पे चिपका भी दें कि ये मेरी पॉलिसी है। I think so. Implementation becomes very tough. Implementation तभी होती है जब commitment and you genuinely believe in what you are doing. Enforcement के थ्रू ये काम नहीं हो सकता। आपने अगर इन्फोर्स करा दिया तो शायद मोमेंटरली आपके पास थोड़ी प्रोग्रेस आ जाएगी, बट आपको उसमें बिलीव चाहिए और आपको एक कल्चर क्रिएट करने की जरूरत है। एंड कल्चर डज नॉट हैपन ओवरनाइट, इट्स अ लॉन्ग जर्नी। विद इन एन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन देयर आर सब कल्चर्स। फॉर एग्जांपल, वी हैव अ सब कल्चर इन हेड ऑफिस। हेड ऑफिस के अंदर लड़कियों को एम्प्लॉय करना और उनको इंगेज रखना, उनको रिटेन करना बहुत आसान है। But it gets tougher when we go to factories. 7 factories, our diversity ratio in factories is significantly lower than in our head office. And within head office, marketing and we have the highest diversity ratio. मैं थोड़ा और आगे चला जाऊँ सेल्स के अंदर, मेरा डाइवर्सिटी रेशियो और नीचे चला जाता है क्योंकि वहाँ पे खवातीन के लिए काम करना ओपन मार्केट में और टफ हो जाता है। तो it varies. It varies what kind of a work you're giving. Even basically, for example, as an organization, we may be very forthcoming, but there are many a time where a woman has to go into the market which we can't control. For example, उसने अगर रिटेल शॉप के ऊपर जाना है, एक ग्रोसरी की शॉप के ऊपर जाके सेल करना है, तो वो नहीं कर सकते। For example, हमने कोई 3 लड़कियाँ ऐसा ऑर्डर बुकर हायर की स्टाफ आज में, और 2 हफ्ते पहले काम उनसे मिला कि आपके ऑर्डर बुकर हैं, ऑर्डर बुकर यूजली मैन होते हैं, तो आप ये काम किस तरह कर रहे हैं? तो इंटरेस्टिंगली दोनों जो खवातीन थी वो रूरल पार्ट ऑफ द कंट्री थी। एक कबड्डी की नेशनल प्लेयर, एक बेसिकली आर्चरी में थी, और दोनों आर्मी के साथ जो कैंप्स लगते हैं वो करते हैं। एंड उसने कहा कि मैं जब ऑर्डर लेने गई तो उस मर्द ने रिफ्यूज कर दिया, मैंने ऑर्डर नहीं किया, मैंने ऑर्डर किया और किसी आदमी को लेकर आऊँ उसको ऑर्डर। अब ये चैलेंजेस हैं, ये इतना आसान नहीं है ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में, क्योंकि आपकी जो कस्टमर फेसिंग रोल्स हैं उसके अंदर खवातीन को लेकर आना is a tough and it will take some time. So we need to start where it's easy to bring women in the workspace, and slowly and gradually we start taking them into the customer facing roles. तो ये हर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ने अपने कॉन्टेक्स्ट को देखना है और उसको कॉन्टेक्स्ट को देख के अपनी पॉलिसी लेकर आनी है, अपनी इम्प्लीमेंटेशन की स्ट्रैटेजी लेकर आनी है। And to be honest, it's going to be a long haul, and to be honest, it's going to be a trial and error. There is no one silver bullet that you say, listen, I have an idea, I know how to do it, and you fire. It may not work. And you have to stay consistent, you have to stay committed, and you continue to basically keep working around, and you continue to basically keep. We still continue to work. We have pockets of excellence, and we have pockets of serious failures. And we continue to go back and say, अच्छा ठीक है इसको हम किस तरह करके देखते हैं। There may be moments of frustration where it doesn't work, even with the right heart in place, believability है, नहीं होगा। कहीं पे जाकर to be honest, we have disappointment with women as well, because we have trust in them, we bring them, और मैं कहता हूँ कि आजकल की दुनिया जो है वो we do a contract of trust now, वो paper contract का ज़माना खत्म हो गया। जिस तरह बात कर रहे हैं कि यार ठीक है 2 घंटे आपको चाहिए, आप शाम में काम कर रहे हैं, but again there's a contract of trust. So I think there's a journey, we are on this journey, we have decent success, it's a long way to go. And by the way, it's not only in Pakistan, this is the West as well, and I just want to get this context right, लोग पाकिस्तान की बड़ी बहुत ज़्यादा पीटते हैं. By the way, US, 20 years back, women at the top position, 2%. Today, 20 years down the lane, 8%. So please, ये ना कहें कि पाकिस्तान conservative है, ख़वातीन यहाँ पढ़ी, US बहुत progress है, वहाँ पे भी नहीं ख़वातीन top पे आ रहा है. And I think so. This is a big problem. Together, the world is trying to solve.
Maybe we can show them the way. Umber. So have you seen so Amit's right that there are many positions that women don't want to opt for or can't opt for because of specific challenges and issues. Have you seen any women at different roles within Androcorp where women have sort of volunteered to be in positions in factories or in manufacturing plants and off-site? Have there been volunteers who have wanted to do that, and how has that experience been? Because there must be, I know they may be an outlier compared to most of the women who prefer specific operational or administrative roles. But have there been such women? It would be nice to hear if they have.
Yes, they have. Amir is absolutely right. The number of women, obviously, in the head office are very, very high compared to the facilities and the plants. And I think that's just as we all understand the nature of the work, the nature of the job. And I think that those are, as you rightly just said, positions that women will have to kind of volunteer for, to start getting into them and then start becoming mainstream in those roles. So right now, I'm very happy to say that we have women on the engineering side, we have women, and we have warehouse heads that are women, for our fertilizers business. They're just being headed by women. And it can be very difficult. Like Amir gave the example that people don't want to buy from a woman. They don't take it seriously. They think, so there are a lot of gender biases, obviously, that the women have to fight there, but they're managing and they're doing it and they're facing those challenges head on. We have women on the business development side in our tower sharing business. So we have a telecom infrastructure business also that we've recently launched, relatively recently, 2018 May, and we put up towers in some of the most remote places. Women are also going in the fields to help get those up. And I'm talking about very dangerous locations where women, men wouldn't want to go there. But the understanding is one of the ethos at Angro is that we try to help solve some of the pressing issues of our time. And as Amir rightly pointed out, digitalization is one of the great equalizers. And keeping that in mind, we thought we need to have connectivity everywhere, and we don't in Pakistan. All of us have been privileged enough, I'm sure, to go on trips up north, and you always find these dead zones. But there are people living there. They have no connectivity, they have no access to information, and hence they end up kind of being in their own bubble. So we have women on that side, we have them in the facilities, engineers, like I said, salesmen, we have women who are actually going out and doing sales, and this is sales of fertilizers, sales of PVC resin. This isn't glamorous stuff that they're selling. I've been on the sales side for a decade prior to joining Angro. I was in the asset management industry, and it's a by and large male-dominated industry, the financial sector, of course. And I was on the corporate investment side. I would have to go and meet the CFOs and the treasury heads of various institutions and sell them something that they've never seen. They can't see, right? It's a dream that you're selling. The best they have, but you can't make it to the picture. So it's tough. How are you doing this? How do you intend to be in sales? And aren't you concerned? And don't people misbehave with you? And some do, and some don't. And the ones that do, you have to kind of teach them a little bit about how to behave properly. And those who do, you appreciate them obviously forever. So I think women are entering now all of the fields. But it's exactly, we need to really pinpoint the fields where there are few and try to encourage them as much as possible to get them to join those fields, because that's the only way to normalize it. It shouldn't be an outlier, like you're saying. And hopefully in time it won't be.
So Mera, agriculture, that's again a growing field. A lot of people are now using agriculture and technology together. The lives of a lot of people who work predominantly in this country, right? What role are women playing? What have you seen? Other than I know women who work on the fields, they work in homes, they do all sorts of things. But can you give us an insight as to the role women are playing that you have seen in
lot of people. So I think women are playing roles in every sphere of things. Particularly if I mentioned in general, in our marketing department spends 50% of the time in the fields. And when we talk about fields, ये वो fields हैं जहाँ पे आपकी गाड़ी जाते हुए रोड टूट चुका होता है, गाड़ी पूरी इसी तरह चलती रहती है. और ये पाक पतन तो बड़ा एरिया है. पाक पतन चक नंबर 3 में आपको जाके किसी फार्मर से मिलना पड़ता है. I've done that personally. But our marketing team, which is 50% female, they actually spend half their time in the field. So our women are meeting farmers on a regular basis. Then we have women in production, manufacturing, engineering. Must admit, for us the numbers and the journey is rather recent. So till last year, we had only one woman in our plant. In terms of employee base, 30 people, and there was only one woman, and now we have 5. So the numbers are increasing, but the real change is happening. It is happening, but it's happening because women are passionate. They want the opportunities. They're not afraid anymore. They sometimes ask for that outlier. I'm okay to work to be the only engineer in the team. And so I think women are coming out and surprising us in many ways, right? So agriculture's sales में अभी it's a pilot program. I think I agree with Amir because हमारा customer farmer है और हमारा sales का बंदा regular basis पे दिन में 8 farmers से मिलता है. There we have a bit of an apprehension, but we have a pilot project starting next quarter about women who, by the way, have shown willingness, eagerness that with the right systems in place, they want to try this job. But will the customer, the farmer, be just as accepting? It is something that we're going to definitely try out. Whether it will be a mega success or a learning, we will find out. But it's a journey, right? So yeah, our head of Asia group, Pamela Gonzalez, is from Chile. She started in sales, again in an area where women did not do sales. So yeah, women are, I think, making leaps and entering territories that they have not done before. Sometimes I feel big corporates are more conservative. They are not. Yeah. मैंने previously भी देखा है कि we have the right talent. We have bold women doing amazing things out there. Are we open enough to offer them those opportunities? And are we open enough to take those risks? I think sometimes. But it's a journey.
So Radha, wait, you always jump the gun and Radha doesn't have a say.
Poor man.
I was waiting to say this. So Radha, in the large organization, they can try, experiment, have failures, and just get up and try something better. As startups, it's more difficult for us. We have less resources. I'm also startups, so I can say so we have less resources, we have limited resources. And yet to find startups are daring and do try new things. So what is it that you're trying as an organization that is different, that perhaps some of these large organizations can learn from? And how are you, if you are, how are you partnering with larger organizations so that the impact for your, for your industry, for people who work as people within your organizations as well as your customers, that you can create a better sort of environment for them?
I think so the first bit, right, the resources versus the risk appetite, I think the heart is bigger with our startups, right? Because we always take more risk.
I'm sure
but we're prudent with it. We're prudent with it as well. It's not like we bet the house on it. But again, because change is what we are all about, right? And we don't have those systems as you rightly mentioned. It's very easy to create a system, right? You do something, you have a system, face it out. But because we're doing it with a lot more frequency, people are not set in their ways yet. You have a lot of room to experiment and bring about real change. So I think over there we might have fewer resources, which is comparative. Again, there are some startups who have lots of resources. Still not comparative, but good number of resources. But the will is probably stronger. The risk appetite is there. and they're able to push through it, right? Because the universe is smaller, you've got your leadership that's more connected, and it's really important for you to be able to push it through. So I think that is extremely interesting. In terms of the partnerships that we're doing and how we're enabling it, I think to date, again, we're just 18 months old. We're trying to set our own house in order, and it's a fight every day. We haven't gotten in touch with a lot of people, but we are, again, so one problem that we were trying to solve even in our previous career was mobility of people, right? And that still continues to be a disproportionate challenge with women. So we are trying to partner with women, we're trying to explore something with Kareem as well, to figure out if we're able to improve and make transportation more accessible for them. But that's where we're at right now. In the future, I'm sure our head of people who's coming in will have a lot more ideas about it.
Yes, Satima, you were.
Before you ask me that, I just want to comment on something that was discussed previously. I think, so we talk about, women in today's day being more stronger, bolder, but the need of them to get out there and earn for their families have increased as well.
Yeah.
So as compared to before, now even the families understand and support के हाँ हमें और income source की ज़रूरत है और अगर हमारी बेटी है वो जाके कमाए, it's okay because it's need of the time. So we also need to see that at times when we are offering these jobs to young girls or women, it's not only that they're very bold to do it, but because it's the need of the time, that's why they have to do it, and why not let them do it. And then the second point about bringing them into roles that are not normally for women, I agree 110%, and I love how brutally honest everyone is. It's a challenge. What I want to comment is that, like for example, in Connectia's context and perspective, so the first thing that we did as a startup was we used to make videos online, and we used to teach people how to sign on, हम लोग videos interpret करते थे and all of that. So when that started happening, I was the first interpreter doing it, and every single person who were friends with my parents told them कि आपकी बेटी को आप ऐसी videos बनाने दे रहे हैं और online videos जा रही हैं, कुछ भी हो सकता है. Which is the reality, लोग ऐसी बात करते हैं, but my parents were strong enough to say that it's okay, she's interpreting, she's making a content accessible for others. And मुझे देखकर ऐसी इतनी सारी लड़कियां फील्ड में आई, they started making videos because they were like, अजीमा कर रही है तो हम भी कर सकते हैं. या their parents were like, oh, Azima is doing it and making impact through it, so you can do it as well. And कुछ को तो मैं खींच कर डाली. So if we can do that, if there are roles that we're doing that aren't defined for women, we can inspire and bring other girls into those fields and tell their parents that if I can do it, they can do it as well. And then we'll see the impact of it. We're seeing it right now, how Adia is interpreting for everyone. So these are the girls who are making a real change because an example was set.
And how young is your youngest sign language interpreter?
We have a 15 saal ke log. So they're very young.
Very good.
Very good.
Very good. Yeah. Okay, guys, now we'll open it up to the floor. Any questions that you may have, please raise your hand and somebody will get a microphone. Come on, be brave. I'm sure there are questions that you have. You won't get this chance to bring these things. Yeah. We want more women also asking questions, although we're not going to deny the men their questions. we are equal opportunity. Yeah.
So I just have two short questions.
Can you introduce yourself? One question at a time.
My name is Mustafa Ahmed and I'm the group head for sustainability at Sufi Textiles.
Okay.
Question from Abdul Saab was, I've seen, I was here day before yesterday as well for the session. Just how many of these sessions have gone towards your flow work of women, also and other than these executive sessions here? And since we're talking about these flow levels,
ये मेन टैगलाइन है लड़की को पढ़ाओ मजबूत बनाओ. ये हमारी टैगलाइन है. इट्स द एड इज आल्सो ऑन एयर. तो ये हम लोगों ने पूरे फील्ड के ऊपर इसको किया, खाली हेड ऑफिस तक महदूद नहीं है. आप सप्लाई चेन की बात करें, लेटली हमने सर्कल वाली जो है सदर आफिद उनके साथ हमने एक पार्टनरशिप की है. और हमारा जो रंगिया खान जो स्टेट है, जो कि हमारी बहुत पुरानी स्टेट है, वहाँ पे हमारे पास स्कूल है जो कि हम वहाँ पे जो वर्कर्स हैं, बच्चे पढ़ने आते हैं, तो वो सुबह इस्तेमाल होता था, शाम और रात में इस्तेमाल होता था. तो हमने उनके साथ एक पार्टनरशिप की है. सो ये काम हो रहा है, मुख्तलिफ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के साथ काम हो रहा है. और I think so again जितना भी करें काम है to be honest and I think so it's just the beginning. I'm not going to say that we know how to do it. We have been trying at different directions.
Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
So,
Please introduce yourself.
I'm Alvina. I'm co-founder and CEO at Katalyst, and it was a great panel, so kudos for that. So I want to ask a question in continuity of what Umber said about 25% inclusion of women in the organization. We do hire women, we are creating awareness for hiring women more and more. Hire हो जाती हैं, but what about the equal compensation? What do you think about that? Because what I believe, hire तो हम कर लेते हैं, what the mindset is that it's cheaper to hire and retain women. So what do you think about that?
That's a really tough question, and I think it's probably more of an HR question. I'm on the communications and marketing side, but so I'll give the mic to Humera. But I will just say that you're spot on. I don't think that this is something that anybody has been able to address just yet. I do know that in certain organizations, this has been looked at, and there have been, for example, I know at Angro we've had external consultancies come in, review, benchmark against global practices, and things are being reviewed in that context. Action, I think, is yet to be seen, but I think that obviously the review itself takes a little bit of time. But Syngenta might have gotten further than that.
And also, again, as Amir had said earlier, this is not specific to Pakistan. This is a trend that is seen all around the world.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So, Syngenta globally initiated a project last year for equal work for equal pay. Equal pay for equal work, of course. And we analyzed data across the globe for salaries, compensation for men and women. And I'm proud to say that effective 1st April, any gap that remains between men and women's salaries for who are doing equal work will be bridged. And the data is already presented. Great.
Well, of course, different organizations, different. Our company is, gender blind when it comes to compensation. Completely gender blind. We do not differentiate a penny. कि ये लड़का काम कर रहा है, ये लड़की काम कर रही है. अगर वो एक ही लेवल के ऊपर है, उनकी compensation एक ही होगी. Compensation is determined by the capability and the merit and the talent, not by the gender. And to be honest, it's nothing new. I've been seeing it for the last 20 years. But yes, ये फर्क डालना चाहते हैं इंडस्ट्री के अंदर कि खवातीन को कम लिया जाए. But alhamdulillah, in our company, we are around 90,000 people in this organization. We do not differentiate between the gender when it comes to compensation.
First of all, I would like to thank
Can you introduce yourself?
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you for connecting with these great people. I feel very honored. I'm Shumaira Salim, co-founder at Pressure Group. Pressure Group is a digital management consulting agency where we provide low-cost e-commerce platform to housewives-oriented business and semi-oriented business. मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि हम बात करते हैं इक्वालिटी की, वो तो हो गई. बहुत सी विमेंस हैं जो अभी बिजनेस में हैं, जैसा कि आमिर साहब ने बोला कि बेकर्स हैं, होम शेफ्स हैं हमारे पास, और भी स्टिचिंग लाइन में है, ज्वेलरी मेकिंग में है, वो ऑलरेडी होम बेस्ड बिजनेस कर रही हैं. लेकिन इक्विटी की बात आती है जब हम उनको लीगल करना चाहते हैं, अगर एंटरप्रेन्योर्स स्टार्टअप्स का एरा है, वो अपने आप को लीगलाइज करना चाहते हैं, तो कॉटेज इंडस्ट्री की यहाँ पे फाइनेंशियल फिट टैक्स से कैसे उनको कनेक्ट किया जा सकता है. मैं इस पर कमेंट आप लोगों का लेना चाहूँगी, क्योंकि रजिस्ट्रेशन की बात आती है. जब अगर बैंक में अकाउंट बुकिंग करवाने जाना होता है, तो उनसे पूछा जाता है कि सोर्स ऑफ इनकम क्या है, जिसमें वो अपना होम बिजनेस रेफरेंस नहीं दे सकती है. फिर उनको अपने हस्बैंड, कोई विडो है तो वो नहीं दे सकती, कोई डिवोर्सी है वो लेडी उनको अपना वो रेफरेंस नहीं दे सकती, तो फिर उनको अपने फादर का रेफरेंस यूज करना होता है एक बैंक अकाउंट ओपन होने के लिए. तो हम होम बेस्ड बिजनेस और एंटरप्रेन्योर्स को किस तरह फिनटेक से इंगेज कर सकते हैं?
शुमारा, एक तो मैं जवाब दूंगी जो रिसेंटली मुझे स्टेट बैंक गवर्नर ने खुद बताया है कि एक अकाउंट शुरू किया है आसान डिजिटल अकाउंट के नाम से, जिसमें आपको ये प्रूफ ऑफ एम्प्लॉयमेंट नहीं देना पड़ता और आपको अकाउंट आप खोल सकते हैं अप टू 10 lakhs आई थिंक दैट्स द अमाउंट कि आप एक अकाउंट खोल सकते हैं एंड नो बैंक इज सपोज टू आस्क यू कि आप कौन है, कहाँ से आई हैं, बस आपका फोन नंबर होना चाहिए, CNIC होना चाहिए, ये दोनों चीजें जरूरी हैं तो अकाउंट खोल सकते हैं। Sorry,
Yes, ma'am, but they are not allowed to open their business account with the business name.
No, this is a business account.
Okay.
Yeah, this is new, so perhaps you haven't heard of it. We just made this.
लास्ट टाइम कब चेक किए?
Dr. India said, लेकिन again, just
नहीं मतलब लास्ट टाइम कब चेक किया? बिकॉज बात कर रही हैं स्टेट बैंक ने ये किया है, मैं पर्सनली खुद उस सेशन में था, ये बाकायदा प्रेसिडेंट हाउस के
I'm not aware of it, but back 6 months ago, अगर मैं बात करूँ एक क्लोथिंग लाइन है, वो अगर आपने आपको रजिस्टर करवाना चाह रही है, वो कुछ रजिस्टर करके अपने ऑनलाइन सेल आउट करते हैं, तो अगर वो अपने अपने नेम से तो नहीं, अगर अकाउंट करेंगे तो कस्टमर ऑथेंटिकेशन नहीं मिलेगा उनको, वो फिर अपना जो उनका ब्रांड है जिसमें उन्होंने ऑलरेडी मार्केटिंग की हुई है फेसबुक पे, उसी नेम से वो अगर अकाउंट करवाना चाह रहे हैं अपना, उसके अंदर वो लोग मांगते हैं आपका NPN और रजिस्ट्रेशन, SSB से रजिस्ट्रेशन और अवेयरनेस से ही उनको रिलीज होते हैं आप कहाँ जाके
अच्छा उसकी ट्रेनिंग वैसे हो रही है, SECP में ऑनलाइन आप रजिस्ट्रेशन कर सकते हैं कंपनी की। अब पहले बहुत मुश्किल होता था, मैंने खुद जब रजिस्टर की अपनी कंपनी तो SECP यूज्ड टू से कि बहुत आसान तरीका है, मैंने खुद उनको बताया कि ये देखें ये मुझे मुश्किल हुई, यहाँ मैं फंस रही हूँ, यहाँ वो कह रहे हैं कि 3 कॉपीज ऑफ फला डॉक्यूमेंट आप लाएं, तो ये आप जब मुझे मुश्किल हो रही है ऑनलाइन करने में, तो दे फिक्स सम ऑफ दोज प्रॉब्लम्स, तो अब जरा आसान हो गया है, मगर वी हैव टू कीप ट्राइंग। और मेरे ख्याल में SECP रजिस्ट्रेशन इतना मुश्किल अब नहीं हुआ है, मगर ये आसान डिजिटल अकाउंट जो है ना, ये आप जाके एक्सप्लोर करें, और जो प्रॉब्लम है ना, अब स्टेट बैंक, SECP, वेरियस गवर्नमेंट एंटिटीज सुन रहे हैं, तो अगर आपकी ना सुने तो आप 2-4 और खवातीन को जमा करें, हम लोगों को कॉन्टैक्ट करें, हमारी सबकी एंगेजमेंट उनसे हो रही है। डेप्यूटी गवर्नर जो है स्टेट बैंक की, वो खुद इसका चार्ज ले रही है, बैंकिंग ऑन इक्वालिटी हमें जैसे कह रहे थे प्रेजेंट हाउस में उन्होंने लॉन्च किया, तो जो प्रॉब्लम वो एड्रेस कर सकते हैं वो लोग कर रहे हैं, तो लेट्स टेल देम व्हाट द प्रॉब्लम्स आर। तो सही है, आपकी जितनी भी खवातीन आपके साथ काम करती, कोई इशू हो जरूर आप शेयर करें and let's tackle it together.
You should share it with Katalyst Labs because like this is what you guys are focusing on, right?
We're trying.
And I think now our questions valid, we all like I feel a lot of us young entrepreneurs normally don't have that kind of connections or we don't know that many people it is built. So, for us to have someone who we could reach out to, then talk to the bank ya kisi ka authority say, that's always very, very helpful. So yeah, I think you should definitely talk to Katalyst Labs, or even in my capacity, because we are working with banks right now, if you could support young startups, would be happy to do that as well. It's all about reaching out. आपने खुद जाके पूछना है, ऐसे ही आपको नहीं आके
नहीं, पर आप youngsters को encourage करें, both the government as well as organizations. Azima herself is on the National Youth Council, कामयाब विवाद program में बहुत से youngsters हैं, तो this is a young people's country. And we need to make sure it's not just connections, it has to be procedures and everything that is changed so that you don't have to reach out to me or reach out to anyone here. ठीक है ना? तो change करने की जरूरत है, तो अगर आप लोग बताएं तभी हम लोग मदद कर सकते हैं आपकी, तो help you to change it. I think that, yeah.
This is Farah from the Pakistan Business Council, an economist there. We work on policy making. Although we work on policy making, there's one point that just I'm concerned about. Being a working mother, it's a different challenge altogether than a single female going out there. Because 3 months of maternity leave is not enough. One. Second, once you're back on the force, it's another issue. Many companies don't offer daycare, and then God forbid you have second care. Then all hell breaks loose. And I've seen many women sacrificing their careers, sitting back home, just looking after their kids. So what can we do at this point? Because of course, there's women all from different fields, there's single women, there's married women, and when it comes to talent retention, this is a big problem. So what can we do on a policy front?
gentleman?
So it's a really good question again, and I think that you hit the nail on the head. There are a lot of women who end up going through this exact same issue. So I know a few things that, like I said earlier, the heart's in the right place. So there are a lot of things that companies are trying to do. And Anglo, we've actually extended maternity leave to 6 months. So we've tried to go above and beyond that. Maternity leave itself is separate also, of course. We have daycare facilities in all of our facilities, so we're trying to tackle that way. But a lot of times even that's not enough. So there are times that majburi mein a mother does have to take that break. And I think that's why we have the Break Kebab program. I know Unilever has a returnship program, and you just mentioned lockdown. So there are a lot of returnship programs as well. So we're trying to make sure that even if you do need to take that break, because maybe the facilities that we can offer aren't enough. And maybe there's also a limitation on how much the company can do. And then there's of course flexi work too, by the way, right? So where you can work from home, which again, this pandemic has really brought home the fact that you can do it. Over and above that, we have internship at least what we're trying to do is make sure that we have this talent. The mothers who want to go and focus on their children, and there's nothing more important, right? I mean, rearing a child is huge. So take that break, raise your kid, and then come back. We don't want to lose the talent. We want you guys to come back. We want all of you to come back.
Just to add to that, I'm one of those women who actually took a corporate career break, right? And you're right. एक बच्चा हो तो आपको थोड़ा सा family support करनी थी. After my first child, I had twins, mashallah. So with 3 kids, there is mama, dadis and nannies just back off, right? So having said this, I think there are times when you need to take a career break. So corporate break. I took a corporate break, not a career break. What I made sure is that I stayed connected to the industry, and I worked on consulting projects and trainings. I worked part-time, I found opportunities everywhere. So I had, organizations like Engage HR at that time, Qualifizer. I know I came back to work 9 to 2 after my 3 kids, and I still remember their offices used to be on the 2nd floor, and there was a daycare on the 1st floor. And I would put my twins in that daycare and go up to work. So my advice would be to women who are taking a break, don't make it a career break. Do something part-time. It is tough, but it also keeps you connected to the industry. And it's so you're updated, you're constantly learning, and it's easier than to go back to corporate as well if you wish to come back to full-time. It's got बहुत opportunities and बहुत सारी organizations realize it again of the talent pool that exists. So there are returnship programs. It's taking a corporate break or a career break is not the end of it. So prioritize, know your priorities, and then take the best decision at that time, and know that the world is right there. If you're talented, you will have opportunities.
Startups में क्या scene है? कुछ है scene इस तरह का? या अभी ये problem नहीं हुआ है?
Honestly, we have 2 colleagues. One has already joined us and she's been working with us for 4 months now. With her, again, as I mentioned, again, we meet with our best friend, and we know these are the hard. We have had those discussions. These are the hard stop times. We don't make her after that or before that even. So we're just trying to ride the situation. We have another person coming in, but they're opting for a daycare, and now we need to figure out again, as everybody's talking about. Because when we started off, we were a very young company, nobody had kids. Now people are getting into that stage in their life, and those requests are coming in. We just need to find the time to sit down, plan it out, and everything.
I think, of course, as startups, at times it's easier for us to learn from big corporations and imply some policies in place. Like we recently announced for our company, like there would be like a paid period leave, so that the female workers in my company could take that day off because we understand the need of it. We haven't had any case of like a mother or a pregnant lady at work, but of course when that happens, I think we startup really looks up to bigger corporations to learn from them and implement as much as we can given the resources that we have, the limitation with resources that we have, maybe like he mentioned about daycares, maybe we can't start a daycare as easily as bigger corporations given the resources, but maybe we can partner up with a daycare who can give our startup employees some discount. So there's always a creative way.
Or like with the Nest IO, we had two children who actually were incubated along with their parents.
Yeah. So creative solutions like that, and I think as startups, we have the leverage of always experiencing it and seeing the impact of it.
I think there was yes.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Katalyst Labs and I am legal counsel for Janan Motors. I have a question specifically to Ms. Mehra and Ms. Umber, but then other panelists may give their opinions on my question as well. So, since you both are in a leadership position in corporate organizations, and I'm also trying to get hold of not in the top position, but somewhere in the middle tier. So I feel when you're climbing up that ladder, and as you go in the leadership positions, our teams are leveraged to come at it. In boardrooms, you'll always only find only one or two board directors. जो कि sometimes are independent directors जिनको SEC की policy की वजह से हमने एक फीमेल director रखा हुआ होता है. I haven't had experience of finding senior management या general manager roles के ऊपर बहुत सारी खवातीन को usually there are one or two. So gap एक है mentorship का, and for females like me who always look forward to women in leadership and want to have their advice, what it feels like to be there. Sometimes you feel like all boys club जहाँ पे आप थोड़े से alien feel कर रहे होते हैं in the boardroom, and you do not know कि offline the meeting आप क्या discussion करेंगे with the men in the boardrooms या generally in the meetings, उनके अपने inside conversations होते हैं जिसमें you don't feel like I don't know, you are not a part of it because you don't have an inside conversation and there are very limited opportunities just to socialize with men because sometimes we have to say like a man to be included in the conversation, and you cannot be a woman in the conversation. So, जब तो smoke breaks पे आप चले जाओगे तो आज इस बाइक में I'm not smoking है, smoking ये आपका अपना choice है, not generalize it. But then I think it's a little lonely up there. So I just wanted to know how you guys cope up with that. Some advice for female like me and other females who are aiming to be in that position soon. And something that the men in the panel want to, give their opinions on that. How do you make female inclusive in your senior management positions as well? So, because meeting are down the line, a lot of women, and we have our own female groups and clubs there. But I just feel it's a little lonely.
I think I do feel lonely. I am active in the contribution team. There are 2 women. There are 7 male colleagues. I guess I'm very fortunate. We have friends. We meet with our families. Unki wives, mere husband, that kind of thing. So I don't feel lonely, and I do feel that the numbers are changing, by the way, at every level. Because organizations, and it's not just women. There are some fantastic men and women leading organizations that are doing the right thing. They are creating a level playing field, and they are counting and promoting talent, and not just men or women, right? Just talent. So I think things are changing. I'm fortunate that I am in that kind of organization. I do feel कि smoke breaks, by the way, बड़ा strong system होता है. Typically, जिसमें बात होते हैं. Mother, I feel that the way women connect with each other is precious, right? And I think so. Men connect in their own way, women connect in their own way, and sometimes smoke breaks are about men and women together. Okay, it's as simple as that. So I don't feel lonely. I am in very good organizations. I hope that I am sort of a catalyst towards providing that space, comfortable space towards women in our company as well. But there is sponsorship required. There is opportunities for women to connect required. In our organizations, we have those employee resource groups. We have those monthly women connect. And they really add value. It was interesting because the concept is it's an old one, of course, but in December, because everybody was on leave and so on, so we met, and everybody brought the person that they lean on the most. And some women brought their child, one woman brought her khala, she lived with her khala, one person, there was only one spouse, by the way, in that group. So it was hilarious. I mean, I think there's something to be said about women connecting. There's no harm if we cannot do networking the same way.
So my experience has been a little bit different. I have been fortunate also to work with really good people, men and women alike. But I have definitely walked into a boardroom, heard it go silent, crickets chirping, you know. I have had the experience where I've tried to say my piece and then a man says the exact same thing, all of a sudden he's heard and nobody heard me when I said it. I've had all of these experiences. As cliche as they sound, unfortunately, I've had them. And I'm actually, you might have already picked that up, but I'm actually from the US, so for me, it wasn't that different from what I've experienced. So that's why when I had said earlier that this is happening the world over, it was based on experience. It's not just based on the numbers and stats. It's a common thing that women have to go through. So yeah, it is critical to have women mentors. And I know that earlier I had mentioned this as well, and Aaron rightly said that you should also have men. So I think that we all should be very clear that there are allies amongst men, and then there are advocates, right? So allies are great. They're the people who are going to support you. You go talk to them, you use them as a sounding board, and they'll give you good advice, and their heart's in the right place. And then there are advocates, and those are the ones who are going to go and actually speak about you in your absence. They're going to speak about you in the right circles. They're going to make sure that your hard work and efforts are visible to others. They're not going to try to usurp your credit. They're not going to try to give it to someone else or to the man in the group. They're going to make sure that you're heard of, right? Make sure you find those people in your organization if you want to have male mentors as well. But I would strongly recommend, as a woman, have a woman mentor, but don't limit yourself to your organization. We are very fortunate. I have 3 board members who are women. So we've gone way above the SCCP requirements, and those women are not just board members, they have a serious vested interest. One is a global DNI expert from the US. The other one, Sabrina Dowd, actually runs the Dowd Foundation as well. So her ambitions from the childhood level upwards are completely different. So we're able to have those conversations where we see eye to eye on the understanding that आपको यहाँ से शुरू करनी है ये चीज़. यहाँ पे आके आप ये expect नहीं कर सकते कि corporate सब कुछ सिखाएं. The corporates aren't there to raise employees, right? They're there to employ employees. So there's only so much you can expect there. But as far as your mentorship question is concerned, you're right, it happens. I think I was just quoted very recently also in Tom saying the same thing that, don't get frustrated when you find yourself having to work harder to get the same amount of recognition as a man, because it's going to happen. And that's not a dig on men at all. I don't even think the majority of men realize that you must have heard of unconscious bias, right? There are so many that we have as women also about our own gender. So obviously men will also have them about their own and about the opposite gender. So these are things that you have to combat every day. Find a woman. I mentor people. You can take my number. You're more than welcome to. I mentor women across the industry, so you're welcome to reach out anytime.
Anybody else wants to say anything on this? No? Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. My name is Manoj Shah. I work as Senior Officer for Safety and Superintendent. My question is from Ma'am Zara. Zara, right?
Yes.
So my question is that since you've been working on ground with women and farmers and all, this is a straight question. That how do you make sure that women don't confuse equity with religion?
Women don't confuse
Equity
with
leveraging.
leveraging.
Or professional like for
Yeah. I've had very few examples where I say this happen. I think honestly, most of the time just creating a space where you can put in a practice or a policy which gives them the same opportunity. I think it's so difficult just to do that, let alone have a woman take advantage of those offerings. And it's not to say that women don't, but I feel men equally do. I mean, there are women who take advantage of specific offerings, but so do men, right? So अगर मेरे पास 450 एम्प्लॉई है और 4 बंदा करता है तो एक बंदी नहीं करती, and actually I think that's exactly the percentage I have in mind. So I think some people try to get away with things. I hope I'm answering your questions, but it's not related to just women. Yeah, it's a certain personality. Some people will try to sneak, take advantage, leverage more than was their right, or was the purpose behind the intent behind the policy or the offering. But it's the same, not just men. What's your plan?
I think it's like gender dying, wali jo baat thi ke, you know, it's a human thing to do that. It's a human thing to take advantage of the opportunities given to you, and whatever applications they have, yani, call it out if you see a woman taking leverage of the benefits given to them. Don't just give them the benefit ke aurat hai to koi baat nahi. You can call it out. It's a more human thing than a gender thing in my head.
I take that money.
That's cheap, yeah.
So if a man is going to open the door for me, I will let him.
Well, we should call it out either way, na? Banda kar raha ho, bandi kar rahi ho. We should call it out.
Yeah.
So
There are so many disadvantages sometimes to being a woman that when there is an advantage that is presented to you, as long as it does not harm someone else, why not?
yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
But I see what your question is, and women should not, because then they are working against themselves, right? Because if they do that, then people will have that excuse कि देखो इनको हमने equity दी थी, इन्होंने क्या किया, right? So you're right, absolutely. We have to be more responsible about it.
और ये मैंने सुना है कि देखो हमें अपॉर्चुनिटी दी, वो एडवांटेज ले रही है, और उसके जवाब मैंने यही दिया, जब बंदा करता है तो कुछ नहीं बोलते हैं.
Alright, so anybody wants to give one final statement before we wind up? Because I think we've had lots of questions, even though I can see some people still wanting to ask questions, but I think we are sort of, our hosts have given us enough space and enough room and enough time, and we still have stuff that we need to teach after we get through with our discussion. And then, you know, you can network and talk to each other at that time. Yeah.
I just wanted to say thank you, first of all, to Jahanara. Thank you so much to our interpreter. She's been working so hard. I know. Next time we'll hear from you on the panel as well.
Yeah.
Thank you, Amir, for providing us the facility as well. I think this was a very important discussion to ensue, and thank you for the very, very thoughtful questions from the group and for the other panelists as well. That's it from my end. I just wanted to say thank you.
I would like to thank Jahan. It's a very interesting panel, very interesting questions, provocative questions. Only bit from my side is जिस दरख्त की हम छाँव को enjoy करते हैं ना, उसको कभी किसी और ने लगाया होता है. So जरूरी नहीं है कि जो चीज़ आप चाह रहे हैं आपको मिल जाए. कई चीज़ें आप सीड सो करेंगे और शायद किसी और को बेनिफिट मिलेगा. तो जो आपकी जद्दोजहद है जारी रखें और ये ना एक्सपेक्ट करें कि ये इसका बेनिफिट मुझे मिलना चाहिए. शायद वो बेनिफिट किसी और को मिले, और आज हम काफ़ी बेनिफिट वो एंजॉय करते हैं जो शायद किसी और ने उसका बीज बोया था. मेरी से भी आपको पसंद रिक्वेस्ट होगी. So keep going on.
I'm going to take up where he left. He mentioned beach. हम beach बेचते हैं. और हमारी tagline है, and it's very interesting. हम beach नहीं ख्वाब बोलते हैं. So I think I think we are on a journey for empowering women, making them stronger, making them independent. We're all there. We all have a role. We all motherhood, whether we're a housewife, as a mom, whether we're mid-tier, senior. We should, men and women, just use our power to make a difference. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Jahara. Thank you for
Radha, Fatima.
Yeah, so final comment from like, A, thank you for hosting us. Again, beautiful premises, something for us to aspire to in the future. But overall, I think we also need to understand that what we're talking about is fundamentally change, and change is neither easy nor is it really fast, right? So it's a journey, and it's a fight that continues, right? And everybody needs to do it within their own ambit, within their own circle of influence to make it happen. So that's it.
I think I've learned a lot over here today, which is something I need to mention. And in my own capacity, if I could maybe help or guide anyone out there who's listening to this today, I'd be more than happy to do that. And I hope to see things happening more than just policies. That's my last thing.
Thank you. So thank you to all of you for being here, to all the members of my team who have worked hard to get us to this stage, and who continue to work every day, both the men and women on my team who work every day to make this a more inclusive space for women and men, and to the panelists. Azima, who is somebody that has been part of our community for the last 4.5 years, extremely proud of what she's become and the role model she is today. If you haven't read the story in Aurora magazine, please pick it up or look at it online. I have written a story about 3 women who are entrepreneurs, who have really, gotten up there and are role models, have built sustainable businesses. Because I'm really fed up of hearing, oh, women are only in the food or fashion space, they are not doing anything sustainable, and this is just a passion, or this is just something that they've taken up as a hobby. These 3 women that I've interviewed, and this is 3 out of many, who have started businesses because they've seen a need, whether it is in the food space, whether it's in healthcare, whether it's in education, whether it's in the area of inclusion. They have done it because they saw a need and they have made it a sustainable business. So don't shortchange women just because you think that they belong in a certain space. And I think my panelists and all the discussions we've had have proven that everybody is working hard to do that, and we hope that we will continue to hold hands and continue this journey together. Thank you very much, and thanks again to Unilever for letting us use this beautiful space. And please join us for our tea and carry on the conversation.
Thank you.
Certainly.